Another week, another No Man's Land episode. Got a lot to cover this week on court and specifically off the court. We're going to talk about all the ATP and WTA events going on. We have Stockholm, Antwerp, Tokyo, and we have Cluj. We have the Nanchang Open and Jiangxi, as Cole like to point out for me, because we got provinces in China that I'm still trying to figure out how all that works. And then, of course, we have the Monastir Open going on as the last WTA event. We're going to cover all those for you. We're going to get into the World Tour Finals and what looks to be coming up for everybody and who's going to qualify, who we think is going to qualify. And then we have some pressing breaking news regarding a WTA and ATP possible merger due to financial issues. So a lot to cover this week. We're coming at you live here. Boys, how we feeling?
Ready to rock. A lot of tennis watched in the last week. Love it when there's it feels like there's 7 tournaments going on at one time. Both sides, men and women. Lots of tennis. Lots of seeds getting knocked out. Fun stuff.
Yep. Got to echo what Freddie's saying. Funky time of year. It's funky town time. Halloween, spooky season around the corner, and it's about to be spooky season for a couple guys ranked just on the bubble at the ATP race.
It had to be a dream for every dad or mom that's got like a young kid that couldn't fall asleep. They just throw on tennis at 1 o'clock in the morning, wake up, there's another match at 9 a.m., get back to work, take a little break at work. You got a match finishing up at 4, and then you repeat that process. Tennis did not stop this entire week from pretty much 10 o'clock at night on the East Coast to 4 o'clock. It was a lot of fun of viewership.
I was that guy. I was
a child.
For 4 or 5 nights in a row, I think I woke up 2 or 3 times with the TV on, just playing tennis matches. Yeah, I was that guy. Minimal sleep. Tokyo was solid.
Yeah. I mean, I think we got to cover Tokyo because that just finished up. I think we could start there. It's just that we have every seed losing in that tournament, and then Ben Shelton winning again. The guy can't lose right now. And if he does lose, he loses in a very, very tight manner. Beating one of my favorite players on tour, the Lion, Aslan Karatsev, in a final there. Pretty routine final for the young boy Shelts.
Yeah, only 3 seeds ended up making the quarters. And
Wild.
then no seeds made the semis. So obviously no seeds made the final, which is pretty crazy. Yeah, Fritz getting knocked out by Mochizuki, Cole's boy. Was tweeting up a storm about Shintaro all week long. Kind of, I don't know. We kind of were debating this before we got on here, but he's kind of come out of nowhere, I guess, on the tour, but not really. He was junior Wimbledon champ, was projected to kind of have already been doing stuff like this and just hasn't had a great couple years on tour. He's floated around between 200 and 300 on the tour, and then all of a sudden gets his first ever ATP Tour win in his home country. Comes back from, obviously a choke from Fritz. Honestly, I don't know how. I don't know. Happens to the best of us. You lose a match like that, I guess. But congrats, Shintaro.
I think it's got to be the tournament of who the hell could blow a match, because Fritz was up 5-2 against Shintaro. And what was that, the second round?
Yep.
In that tournament, somehow finds a way to lose it. Then Shintaro is looking like he's going to get his rear end handed to him by getting the bump pick Alexei Popyrin, who I thought was going to make a semifinal here at this tournament, and claws his way out of that match, facing 9 break points at 5-all, and then somehow breaking Popyrin at 6-5 to win the match when Popyrin was serving, I think, 40 love. And then on top of that, you had Shelton beating Giron earlier in the tournament, I think the quarterfinal, and he lost 9 more points than he won in the match. He lost more points than he won in a tennis match and found a way to win the match. It was a who's who of how to not win a tennis tournament. It felt like a little bit.
Yeah, Giron is one to point out as well. We had 2 Americans face off in the semifinals. Shelton beat Giron 6-4 in the third to make the final. Came back from a double breakdown in the second, a set and a double breakdown, comes back. But yeah, Giron had to qualify this week. So Giron won, 1, 2, 3, 4. He won 5 or 6 matches, I think, but if you include his qualifying this week. So Tokyo was good to Marcos. And quick shout out to their team, because guy Carousel from My Tennis HQ. He just won 25K in Mexico, his first title in God knows how long. I think he's making a run back on tour, but he's kind of on the coaching team of Marcos Giron. So I was seeing on social media, they're both posting about each other and how their team had a good week this week. So shout out My Tennis HQ.
Yeah, the Shelton win was awesome. I think it's funny to note like he had never left the country at the beginning of this year, and then like the first title he wins is in Tokyo. So cool, so cool. The thing that impressed me the most with Ben was he doesn't mail it in, right? And he's so new on tour that it's hard to grasp what type of fight and level and you know consistency he's going to have and buy-in. I even like watching what Antwerp this week with Bublik. Bublik was, you know, he'll get broken at love or something, and then he'll sort of check out for 5 or 10 minutes, and then he'll get back into it. It's now made the final. He's playing right now. But with Shelton, like especially in that Giron match, I mean, he lost a really tight first set. I mean, he wasn't playing like he was playing at the US Open. But he sort of like, you know, found a way to get his teeth in that second set and then sort of, you know, started playing at a higher level in the third. And that just is exactly what you want to see as an American tennis fan. And as somebody I think is so likable, he's always so happy. It feels like when his interviews, like it's just like that young kid, like just inherently happy all the time. And he's definitely confident, he's charismatic, and it's good to see that he's so bought in and he wants to fight for every point.
There is right there the dichotomy between Americans and foreigners. A lot of Europeans can't stand Ben Shelton. And I agree with you. I like Ben Shelton a lot because he's a big come on guy. He's a big, like, you know, in your face kind of yelling. He comes off sometimes as a little cocky, which I like. It is, and to be honest with you, he's 20 years old and he came out of nowhere. He wasn't supposed to be the guy he is. Like we've highlighted this before. He was played number 5 for Florida 2 years ago, the University of Florida in college ball. And now he's top 15 in the world in terms of the ATP race. The guy is just absolutely playing some great ball, but he really is somewhat kind of disliked across most of the tennis community, especially overseas. They do not like Ben Shelton, and I'm here for him.
Yeah, with the celebrations, I feel like we're seeing so many people. Half the highlights aren't even the tennis. It's more of just this hanging up the phone, all that. Then I saw someone else, I think maybe I think his name's Francisco Caboli, and he did this, but then he was drinking up, which is hilarious.
Celebration.
So guys are putting some different spins on it. So I think a lot of the guys on tour are kind of buying into it and liking it. But to your point, Keith, I think some of the common fans that are not in the States they're not liking it.
Yeah, but like it's taking the tour by storm. To your point there, Fred. Like what Shelton goes over to the monitor and writes "Stay humble, stay hungry," and then Arthur Feast in Antwerp is doing the same thing when he makes a final. And then Shelton wins this morning and he goes, "Show me something, Arthur." Writes it right on the camera. Like hey, the guys are having fun, man. But they work hard. Like they work their ass off and they want to win. It's not like, you know, a personality that's there. It's not like what Benoit Paire did 2 weeks ago and like tank completely. Like he's bought in and it's fun to watch because it's high level.
Yeah, I think this just proves one thing is that originally when Roger Federer signed Ben Shelton for On, I was like, is this a publicity stunt? Just getting like the next young American guy? Like, is he going to be Jack Sock or is he going to be Andy Roddick, Marty Fish, like, you know, a top end player? And I'm not going to get way too far ahead of myself, but he feels like a guy that's got staying power because you can't touch his serve. It's one of the biggest serves on tour. He's got a very big forehand and a dependable backhand. And he seems to love playing tennis. I don't think you can, like, you know, put a moniker on that. You can't put how much that counts for your career, but he looks like he just loves playing tennis, which is weird for a guy who said that when he was like 15, he didn't think he was going to play tennis. He really didn't think so. He thought tennis was his dad's sport. And then out of nowhere, like, you know, call it a coincidence. Now he's like 15 in the world. So it's a fun guy to watch play. It was fun to watch Aslan Karatsev make a final, but Ben Shelton he put him to the woodshed halfway through that match.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep.
I think that's why he's going to have a pretty cool career, just based on what you said, Keith. I think the desire and how much he enjoys competing, I feel like he's only going to continue to get better. And so I'm really excited to see what that's going to look like.
Yep.
Get betterer.
Established. He's taken out established Americans on his title trot. I mean, he beat Paul, he beat Giron. This guy was in college playing college tennis 2 years ago. So, I mean, the growth spurt's been pretty quick, and 14th live rankings could get in with a shout in the race.
He's an unreal third set breaker away from making the Masters 1000 last week. I mean, Korda just absolutely like treed in that third set breaker that we talked about last week to take him out, where he was like taking 150-mile-an-hour serves, blocking it down the line for winners. So he's very, like, you can make the argument that the past 3 weeks of tennis, he's been the best or in the top 3 players in the world. I don't think you cannot make that argument based on results. So it's fun to watch. So I'm enjoying watching Ben Shelton, and the rest of the world can just get over it. I mean, he's fun. He's here. These next generation guys are fun. They're not like stuffy, like kind of like quiet guys. They're going to get in your face. They're going to get loud. They're going to write things on the cameras that are fun to read. So be a part of it, people. Embrace it, and enjoy it. Cole did mention that we had a Arthur Field's Bublik final in Antwerp. We are recording this before we know who wins that finals, but good run by Arthur Fields, who is into his second final on tour already this year after being an unknown name at the start of the season.
Yep, he's had a great tournament. Beat Steph 6-6, 2 pretty good tie breaks in the semis. I don't know, maybe we can touch on Steph a little bit, but
it's the same thing.
Same.
It's the same thing. The dude can't hit a backhand slice. I'm not trying to like take away anything from Arthur Fields. The guy can't hit a backhand slice. I think he has a 3.5 backhand slice. For you Americans out there, the rating wise, if the thing floats in the middle of the court at like 22 miles an hour, Fred, you've watched that. I think it's bad technique. It doesn't help him out.
It almost looks like he's using the wrong grip or something when he hits it. I don't know. Yeah, I don't know. So strange, but yeah. I mean, he got the bye obviously in the first round, and then he won 2 pretty good matches. Like he routinely beat Hanfman. He pretty much routinely beat Botic, Van de Zandschulp, and makes it to the semis. And you think, okay, here he comes. Steph's found a little bit. Let's see, can he get one of these titles and get a little momentum going into the end of the year? And then loses to another guy that he shouldn't lose to. And I think this just goes into some of the changing of the guard that we've talked about kind of all year. I think we've just been so accustomed to, I don't know, the guys from Federer, Nadal, Djokovic, Murray, even like Ferrer and a few guys like that, like 1 through 6 or 1 through 7 in the rankings, they just wouldn't lose matches like this. They just wouldn't. And then now we're seeing guys at the same spot in the rankings who are supposed to be at this level, and they're not having the same consistent wins that we're used to seeing over the last 15 years.
This was indicative of his season for Stefanos Tsitsipas. He showed you like, yep, he's back. He's coming in. Let's go. And then wham, just doesn't win the match. I mean, he started, I pointed out almost every episode because we keep forgetting the dude was in the Australian Open finals. And every match he loses right now feels like, or every big match he's lost so far this year has been like, okay, he's down. His level's not good. He picks it up. He finds a way to get competitive and then loses at the end. And that was the hallmark of not Stefanos Tsitsipas for years, of like, he would always find a way to win those matches. And your windows, I think this is going to be a tough offseason for Stefanos unless he comes in really big at the end of the year, because he's got a lot to look at and wonder what's going on with this game.
I was rounding a corner this week. I really thought this was going to be a typical Steph like 250 where he just pulls it out, especially after the Hanfman match. I mean, Keith, your coach Keith, if you haven't seen it on our Instagram or and TikTok, Keith's talking about how the slice is a weakness for him. And in that match, I thought he hit his one-hander and slice pretty good. And then Arthur Feast just, played him tough and got through it. But you would expect Steph to come through that match. And I was backing him too, especially after the Hanfman, display. I was like, damn, this is old Steph. And then Feast was like, not today. Put you deep in the fees.
You're right, but I mean, it is a fun final though, because you do have Alexander Bublik, who is just a complete wild card. When he wants to play, he's a top 25 player in the world. And then you have Feast, who looks great when that forehand's cooking.
Keith, look, I mentioned Bublik earlier about how he's like this up and down, and Shelton being all bought in. Bublik took one look at the draw and was like, time to ratchet it up a little bit this week. Who we got? We got him beating freaking Gregoire Barrère after a bye. And then he plays who I deemed unknown European of the week, Mpechi Pericard.
Can we talk about him? Dude, this guy looks like he's going to be a baller.
Yep.
This guy, and he's got a one-hander, which is sick. This guy looks like he's gonna be a baller.
Yeah,
Giovanni.
But like Maximilian Marcher, I watched that guy play on a backcourt in qualifying at Indian Wells. I mean, like, come on, Bublik. So I'd be very interested to see.
What do you mean? Come on, he's there. He's in the final. He's done it. He's done his job.
Credit for Bublik for
he's there.
Recognizing an opportunity. We'll see how the final goes.
Come on, Bublik, make the final. Oh, he did. No, I mean, Bublik's a fun guy to watch. I think Bublik gets way too much flack. I think if it's your career, do what the hell you want to do. Cole's the only guy that'll be like, come on, Bublik. And then his biggest fan is like Benoit. His biggest tennis player he likes is Benoit Paire. It's just hilarious. If Alexander Bublik did not look like an Amish guy from Lancaster, Pennsylvania, and looked like Benoit Paire, Cole would be the biggest fan of that dude. I swear to God.
Dude, Bublik's got a sweet kit now. He's on the Emporio Armani. He's got the bandana in. Looks fire. I don't dislike him. I just think like he identified an opportunity, and this is his week.
Yeah, why not? I do want to talk about the Giovanni Pericard, even though I don't know why I did Italian. His name is Giovanni. He's French. It's so, but dude, that guy, Fred, did you watch that guy? Because I loved his game watching him play.
Yeah, I didn't get to. I pulled up the highlights because, yeah, Cole sent the screenshot in. He's like, on this week's edition of Who the Hell is this random European guy? And I was like, you're right. Who the hell is this guy? And so I pulled up some highlights, and then he won a match. And so I pulled up those match highlights, and yeah, he can play. And I think he's gonna, I don't know. We'll see. I just feel like there's a lot more athleticism and fun that's coming into our sport now. And I just think that's the way the generation's changing. And I think people watching videos and seeing different highlight stuff, guys are trying different things when they're younger. And so it just seems like the shot making and the athleticism is getting to another level. And so we'll see if he can keep it going and put it all together.
This is why tennis is fun right now. Sorry,
as history shows, if this guy makes a slam final or a semifinal, I will claim him as I discovered him.
Yeah. This is why tennis is fun though, because you're right, Cole. This week's random European, I had never heard of this fucking guy. And then I watched him play 2 matches and I was like, holy shit, he's 6'8", hitting 150-mile-an-hour serves, taking short hop backhands on the baseline and rushing net and volleying the ball away. I was like, yes, sign me up for some more Giovanni. Get me some more of that tennis. He was a fun guy to watch play. And like, you know, he ended up losing to Bublik in I think the quarters, but that was a fun match to watch. And I guess we got, lastly, talking about no seeds winning a tournament or getting into a tournament, we got Stockholm, where we have the old guard Gael Monfils making a final, currently playing against Kotov, however the hell you pronounce his last name.
Yeah, Pavel, I think. He's like 110
Kotov
in the world. Yeah, Gael down a set right now, 4-6, 2-1 on serve in the second set. We'll see if he can get it done.
Stockholm, famous for letting its entire population in the tournament on wild cards. But yeah, rather good tournament. Ice Hotel. We got a big ice hotel there in Stockholm. If we're familiar with. I did a 6th grade a country float presentation, and it was Sweden was my country, so I feel part Swedish. Leo Borg made a little appearance here, wild card as well. But also big wild card of the week. Wasn't expecting her to fly in for it, but you know, Gael Monfils makes a final and a semifinal. and Alina Svitolina just flying in, hanging out courtside. Gem's life. Gem's life.
You keep saying, what the hell is Gem's life? You keep saying this. I still don't know what it means.
Gail,
explain.
Alina, Monfils, Svitolina. Gem's life for life. Is it worse than Sitsadosa?
Yeah,
I
but I,
don't think
feel like you at least know what that is. It's like
Gem's life was first,
that's
and they're
context
married.
clues.
There's never been a celebrity nickname that I've ever been like, yep, I can't wait to say that out loud in public.
I also feel like we've seen the PR next to Gail's name in like every tournament he's been in. Do we know when that's coming off and he's got to play actually under his ranking?
It would be next year, I'd imagine. It's normally within a year of the injury, right, Fred?
Yeah, I'm looking right now. There's a finite amount of times you can use your protected ranking.
Yeah.
You can't use it for the whole year. I think there's I don't know. I want to say you can use it 5 times throughout. So you have to be a little strategic with it. That's why like when Dominic Thiem was coming back, we sort of saw him mixing in playing challengers and then using his protected ranking to play. And so guys use it for the Grand Slams, obviously, because one, they know that highest chance to get ranking and they're getting some cash money. And then maybe some of the Masters. But let me look that up real quick.
I think it's within a calendar year, though.
Yeah. Yeah. No. You can't just hold on to it for years and save up. Like,
Could he clock in and use this PR at 50 years old?
yeah. No,
Federer's
it's not like an
ranking,
exemption. It's not like in golf when you get an exemption and when you win a major or something and you can just use it for life. And you got Fred Couples needs a freaking golf cart to get him around the course now. Like,
don't go bragging on Freddie Supples. We should yeah, but that's a match going on right now, so we're kind of interested to see the final of that one. Yeah, it's a perfect tournament for Gael because he doesn't have to work that hard. It's inside. He's not gassed after like 15 minutes. It's perfect. It's perfect for him. So let's see if he can pull it off, though.
Yeah, shockingly having his way, taking these matches to at least 3 sets, finding a way to make these matches go 3 sets when he's not working that hard. Classic Gael.
He does it. He tanks a set. We all know Gael. But all these are going on. We have good tennis to look forward to. We have Vienna and Basel, both 500s coming up this upcoming week, which is going to be a good time. Actually, yeah, we have Vienna and Basel coming up. And subsequently after that, we have the Paris Masters and a couple 250s following that. So I think it's a great time. This is the part of the season where guys are going to start putting their foot on the gas to see who is going to make the World Tour Finals from the ATP. The WTA is already set. We're going to Cancun. That's coming up pretty soon. But we got some events coming up. Boys, we have a stacked list from about 7 to 15 in the world. There's a lot of players that can sneak in that round. Let's go over who is where and what's going on. So we obviously have Novak, Carlos, Daniil Medvedev, Yannick Sinner have already qualified. It looks like Rublev is going to get in. I'd be shocked if Tsitsipas doesn't get in. And then Zverev is pretty close to getting in automatically right there. So it's going to be between Zverev, Rune, Fritz, Rude, Hurkacz, Paul, de Minaur, Shelton, maybe Hashanov and Tiafoe at the end of that. Who gets those last 2 spots? Who gets 7 and 8?
Fred, I'll let you be wrong first.
yeah. So I do think Zverev's he's gonna take the 7th spot. I do think. I really think everyone you just listed is fighting for 1 spot.
Yeah.
I don't see a world where 2 guys bump out Zverev.
The only way is if somebody wins. Is 2 people win.
Yeah.
Like win big events.
Yeah, so I'm gonna put Zverev at that 7th spot. He's gonna hold it, and I don't know. We'll see. I don't like Holger's chances of holding the 8th spot just based on his results in the last 4 months, and just the stuff. I don't know. It's just seems like it's a revolving door on social media of random quotes from his mom or from him about different coaching stuff or media training and blah blah blah. And so I don't know. This is tough. I think some of it's going to depend on kind of who gets some decent draws in the next 2 weeks, because yeah, like you said, we go Basel and Vienna, so 2 500s this week, and then we head into Paris, Bercy, Masters 1000. So if somebody can kind of make 2 deep runs, I think that's who's going to get this spot. I
Feels
mean,
like nobody's gonna have a good draw in any of those.
well,
That
because they're
tournament's stacked. They're
Yeah,
stacked.
they're stacked, and so I think I'm going to go with Hurkacz, man. I really do. I think just based on he just won the other Masters. He didn't have a good run in the last tournament, so he kind of got a full week to just rest and recover after playing 12, 13 straight days of tennis in Shanghai. So I think Hurkacz is going to sneak in there and take that 8 spot. But I wouldn't be surprised if Ruud or Fritz is right there battling. I think it's those 3 guys.
That was a big loss for Fritz in Tokyo, because that should have been a tournament that he should have made the finals of, or gotten to at least the semis of, based on who was left there. That hurt because he had a good run out of it. It's important to note that Alcaraz, I don't believe, is playing in Vienna or Basel. He's been dealing with a foot injury, and so he looks like he's taking some time. His body's had a little bit of he's been beaten up a little bit. Obviously, over the course of the year, he's played the most events, so that is a little bit more open of a draw. So you don't have the top 2 players in the world, Novak and Alcaraz there, but still the rest of the field is stacked.
Is he committed to playing in Paris?
I was going to get to,
because that could be where Keith comes in with the usual. I don't know. Alcaraz wins like 1 or 2 matches and is playing some guy that's 50 in the world, and Keith bets the other way because he knows Alcaraz just wanted 2 warm-up matches before the World Tour Finals.
Yeah, it is the Vienna week. It's Lorenzo Sonego week. All hail the Karate Kid.
I'll never forget him. I root for him every match. Because of that.
Look, you beat me to my point. I think we're gonna see, and I don't want to be devil's advocate here, but I'm going to be. I think we're gonna see a withdrawal from Carlos at the ATP World Tour Finals. It's plantar fascia.
Plantar fasciitis.
Yeah, that's right. That's exactly what I said. Cole Wernicke, MD. I just think that it's been the hell of a year, and we'll see. I bet you he's going to take the cautious way out, so that's going to remove 1, and then it's up for. I think Rune is getting. I think it's going to stay true. I really only think it's going to be Ruud and Fritz for the 8 spot, and I think it's going to stay true all the way through. I think Rune has got to win a match. Rune has got to win a match, and I think he'll get some confidence after that. But it's too many tournaments in a row where he's lost, and we have Boris Becker now, guys. He's the fix-all problem. Come on,
he's a good coach. The guy's been a good coach.
Just don't let him see the pocketbook.
Cole, you over here recycling my jokes from last week? Keep his hands out the financials.
It's right. I think Carlos is going to pull out, and I think Fritz and Ruud are going to have to fight it out for 8.
Yeah, I'm going to cut everybody off after Hurkacz. And I hate to say that to our boy Ben Shelton. I don't think there's enough time for him to make a run and do it. I don't think Team Noor is going to do it. I don't think Hashinoff or Tiafoe is going to do it. I think Hurkacz is the last possible guy to get in.
Hurkacz is not getting in.
He's the last possible guy. He's before you do all this, he's 40 points behind Casper Ruud.
Right.
In the race.
Did you see the way he looked in Tokyo that first match? He's a zombie right now.
Well, that's what
because the guy that was Tuesday. I said.
And now he's got to fly all the way from Tokyo to freaking
he's probably
or Vienna.
He's been there a week probably.
I know. I'm concerned about his flight and travel.
This isn't the Murder on the Orient Express. He's getting on a plane and going and just flying and relaxing close to his home country. This isn't. God damn.
Murder on the Orient Express.
Cole will find any way to discredit Hurkacz given the opportunity to.
Oh no. It's gonna be close. Yeah, it's gonna be close.
I don't think that Hurkacz does it. And I think Rune holds on and wins just enough matches to get in. I just think there's a little too much space because there is a slightly easier draw because Rune is the 2 seed in the 500s. And if he just makes a couple rounds, he's going to buffer himself out. Whereas Hurkacz and the other players don't really have that luxury right now.
Yeah.
So
and he's got to play well at Bercy because he's defending the entire tournament for actual world rankings.
Yes, he's going to have to play, but I think he can make up a good amount of those points during the 500s because I think he's planning on it. That's what I think is going to happen, but we'll see. I mean, it's a fun World Tour Finals race because it's been so many different players at so many different times for that throughout the end of the year. Like, I don't think any of us thought Hubert Hurkacz had a chance to get in a month ago. And I think everybody in the middle of the season would have been like, oh, Casper Ruud and Holger Rune, they're going to be the 3 and 4 seeds in this tournament. And now they're like, they may not get in. I don't think Ruud gets in. So it's kind of nuts. All right.
We'll see.
On to some pretty serious news that we got to touch on regarding the WTA and the ATP. It has been reported by a number of different people that the WTA is in a bit of trouble. These are quotes taken from I believe I'm saying his name wrong, Polsky, who is the vice president or president of the Kazakhstani Tennis Federation, talking about the merger of WTA 250s into ATP 500 events, which is something that we touched on earlier in the year that we didn't necessarily like because it sounded like what was happening was that they were really diluting the 250 events. And now we're starting to see the reason why they're doing this. And that is because the WTA, based on Polsky's comments, is going to be in huge financial issues by 2026 or 2027 unless a merger happens. And it sounds like it's in the best interest for the ATP to kind of help and subsidize the WTA, create a merger package for the two of them or a cooperation. But right now, it's a shocking news to hear that the WTA is really kind of in a bad financial spot, especially with Cancun coming up and that poor planning. So yeah, not the greatest of news for the sport in a way.
Yeah. Kind of sad to see that. I don't know. That it's just so open in the public that the WTA is struggling so much. But I'm hoping that they can come and figure something out. I was kind of doing a little research on this, and one of I think it's the most liked or most viewed tweet that was out there about this, but it was 3 years ago. Federer put out a tweet. He quote tweeted someone and was like, "Yep, a merger would be the best thing that could happen, and it's on the horizon," or something like that. And so I think this is something that's been definitely in the works for a little while, and I think the WTA is just not able to keep up. So it's finally coming out and everyone's realizing it. And so I think the ATP is going to have to try and find a way to help out.
Yeah, here's go ahead, Cole.
It's definitely been marketed sort of strategically without saying it that it was coming. I know they did like the Tennis United. I don't know if you guys remember like the Tennis United interviews during COVID where they'd have WTA and ATP players sort of interviewing each other. It was sort of that deepening relationship of the tours because all you can talk about in the past was equal prize money and how each is like not supporting of the other. So yeah, it's a shame that it's happened this way and that the WTA can't, support its own product. But we need women's tennis, and it's a shame, but we got to keep it around and by any means necessary.
24-ish million people play tennis in the United States. It's not a small amount. That is not a small amount, and I can guarantee that number is pretty close to 50% women based on the leagues I play in and the teams. And it wouldn't surprise me when it comes to organized tennis that it's probably more than 50% because I see my wife's opportunity to play on teams and it's so many more opportunities than I have to play tennis in the area. But here's a quote from Polsky. The WTA is in big financial trouble. They're in a very bad place and could even go bankrupt in 2026 or 27, which I already highlighted. The financial situation doesn't change, according to Polsky. This is the reason why the WTA is preoccupied with increasing the value of biggest tournaments and compelling the top players to play them. So they're trying to promote those 500s and 1000s, and it's why the end of the 250. So for the WTA, it's a matter of survival. For the ATP, a matter of reputation. ATP leadership doesn't want the WTA to collapse because the optics would be bad, and it would be. It would kill part of the game that a lot of people like watching. and a lot of people enjoy. I mean, if you look at the Grand Slam events, the viewership is almost exactly identical between Grand Slams, between the men's and women's final, obviously depending on who's playing. Depending on who's playing that. Sometimes the WTA eclipses or falls under. And it should be on the ATP a little bit here to buoy it up because it's such a large portion of the population that watches tennis. It just feels like it's hard to watch sometimes the WTA in terms of like finding a place to watch it.
Yeah,
so one platform feels like it fixes it a little bit.
Yeah, that's exactly what I was going to say. I think all three of us would attest to, we would love to watch more women's tennis, but I just don't think the platform, it's not as easy to locate. It's like, okay, do I need to switch whose Verizon account do I need to sign into to get into Tennis Channel so that I could see what's on one of their 3 streams on their website? It's like, but okay, I can go on my TV and click on the Tennis TV app and boom, I'm watching any men's match I want to watch. So it's just, if they can find a way where maybe there is one platform where you have access to everything that's under a Grand Slam level, I think you'd see so many more people tuning in to watch the women play.
And this is a different discussion than a lot of other female sports where the viewership isn't there for a lot of other ones, which is why the money difference kind of happens. There's a viewership for a women's game. I mean, the numbers that I've seen is that the women's game has grown from 300 million total viewers in like 2015 to somewhere in the area of like 600 million in the past couple of years. That's a huge amount of people that are watching it. So it's there to be had. And I think there are 2 ways to really fix that, which is one is to have one collective place to watch tennis, which would be absolutely incredibly awesome for the entirety of the game. And the second would be a way to start promoting a combining of the game. What I mean by that is having more mixed doubles and that kind of stuff. And we talked about like team events that actually make sense in promoting the women's game, because it should be something that we should be watching a little bit more of and have the opportunity to watch more of.
It's gotta be. I mean, when you think of women's tennis, the past history of it, it's really the recent past history of it. It feels like big name Serena Williams was the draw, and nobody would want to miss her matches. But now we've got great players. We separate the big 3, right? But the level of competition is closer, I feel like, than what it was.
Always has been for the past 10 years.
But now we have countries involved that not necessarily were involved in the past. Ons Jabeur is representing Tunisia, who hasn't had a great champion in decades and decades.
Ever.
Iga Swiatek is way better than Agnieszka Radwanska was, and she's world number 1, and she's won multiple Grand Slams. So that's Poland getting involved. As a world that's watching this, as a planet that's watching this freaking women's product, like, there's enough people out there that want to watch it. So they got to make it more universal.
Combined events would be awesome, where you went men, women, men, women, men, women, men, women on TV. It just, and the scheduling would be awesome to fix that too, where you had big women's event, maybe smaller men's event, or like, what I'm saying, in a way to promote both games on opposite weeks, because this product should be watched. And reading that news was kind of sad. It was kind of sad to read, to see how much better in a financial spot the ATP was than the WTA. And it shouldn't happen for a sport that is largely one of the most popular sports to watch in the world, and one of the most popular sports played in the world too. There are a ton of people that play tennis. So there are a ton of people who play tennis and a ton of people who watch it. So let's get the WTA involved and get them some fucking money.
Yeah, I'm hoping by the start of this coming season that we're going to get some more news about that and get some more clarity on what's going to happen. I think this sort of, I don't know, off season, I guess we always joke that there isn't much of an off season in tennis, but I'm hoping that there's some meetings kind of behind some closed doors that happen during this off season. And so when we get to Australia and the start of the new season, maybe they'll have some exciting news to announce that start of 2025, we're going to have this whole plan and go get it.
And I don't want this to sound like the ATP is coming to the rescue of the WTA. The ATP is doing better in a financial status, but there just feels like there's been, I don't know, poor planning or poor marketing surrounding the WTA. It kind of reminds me of like baseball in the past 20 years, where it's like nobody's propping up these players. Nobody is really making the game well known, and they're hoping players themselves are going to do enough to make the game in a way watchable. It needs to be both ways. One hand feeds the other. So the WTA needs to find a way to get its players out there, need to find a way to promote its players, and make it a bigger sport to watch because it deserves to be.
Yep.
What's the line? Don't disagree with somebody when they're right.
Yeah, whatever you usually say.
Cole, do we have a concern list for this week?
No, I don't have a concern list. More so just, a mind thought, a space of mind this week. I put a poll out on Twitter, and it was simply, who is having the biggest shocker of a year? Rune, Felix, or Rude? And everyone, pretty much everyone, I think it was about 66% sided with Auger-Aliassime.
How could it not be? How could it not be Felix Auger-Aliassime?
I know. I gotta agree with it. I mean, I thought I saw flashes of it this week. Flashes.
He won his
And then
first back-to-back
absolutely
matches.
chopped by Giron.
He won his first back-to-back matches since Madrid.
Saw a funny tweet. Will Uncle Tony accompany him to the Challenger Tour?
No, he's watching Rafa hit.
Yeah, it's got to be Felix. It's got to be Felix.
100%. So that's permanently on the Cole's concern list right now. Cole will get that up to date pretty soon. I can't wait for next week's concern list, to be honest with you. Great tennis coming up. We already highlighted. As always, catch us on our socials, Instagram, TikTok, YouTube. And as always, ladies and gentlemen, swing a big stick.